Alright, today's video we got must-have tight ends. Perfect. Let's pull up some research. Best tight ends in 2020. Okay.
What are you doing?
What?
Dad?
No, nothing. What is going on, Headliner Nation? Jake, Fantasy Headliners. Hopefully everybody's doing well out there today. I know I'm doing pretty well because the day this video comes out, it's going to be my birthday. And no, I'm not going to be 50 because I know somebody's going to put that down in the comment section. No, I'm the ripe old age of 39 still, and I'm looking forward to killing it here another year. But today we're talking about tight ends, the football kind. And I got a couple guys in this video that I'm really targeting in 2020 fantasy football. Now, before we get into that video, just do me a quick favor. Hit the like button for me. If you're new to this channel, maybe consider subscribing after the video's over. Maybe you'll see what the content is like and really enjoy it. If this video can get over 1,000 likes, I'm going to give away 2 draft guides to 2 random people in the comment section. So make sure you leave a comment, hit the like button. We'll give away a couple draft guides here for my birthday, to celebrate my birthday here with the community. So the first person we're going to get talking about is the guy on the thumbnail, right? And hopefully you pay attention to the thumbnails because they're pretty awesome. And we're talking about Rob Gronkowski, and it's still hard to say of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I really want to say the New England Patriots. It just kind of rolls off the tongue that way. But what about Gronk in Tampa? Why is he a must-have here in 2020? Let's talk about it. I mean, come on. He's arguably the best tight end over the last 10 years. And now that he's back in Tampa, trust me, I know it's tough to not want to overbuy the hype there in Tampa Bay, but it's the tight end position in fantasy football. And being a top 10 tight end only requires you to have like 50 receptions for 630 yards and 5 touchdowns. Literally, that'll get you inside the top 10 here of this position. But he's fresh, right? I mean, a year off of football to clear his mind, get healthy, just in time to come out of retirement and follow Tom Brady to Tampa Bay seems a little bit too good to be true, right? But I mean, it's obvious that at this point, Gronk really only wanted to play football as long as Tom Brady was his quarterback. We've all heard this story by now that back in 2018, he kind of vetoed the trade going to the Detroit Lions. There was a trade in place to trade Gronk to Detroit. He told him he was going to retire just so the trade would fall through and he could stay with New England. He then retired at the end of 2018, thinking that more than likely he would be traded again in that offseason. Now he goes to Tampa Bay, who is loaded on the offensive side of the football, plus they have Ronald Jones too. Now, Gronk for the first time in a few years really has a few options on the offense that he really has to fight for targets. I mean, Evans and Godwin are legit threats. But what would you say if I told you that Gronk only averaged 6.9 targets per game? Trust me, I know. The irony of one Gronk averaging 6.9, it's almost, I mean, come on. It's like it was meant to be. 6.9 targets per game during his time in New England. If you project that over 16 games, it's 110 targets on the year. But one thing we know is Gronk, and the phrase playing 16 games isn't exactly something we've heard a lot of. In fact, he hasn't played in all 16 games since 2011. So we can't really count on him going out there and playing all 16. In fact, since 2012, Gronk has averaged playing just about 12 games a year. But despite only playing those 12 games a year on average, he still produced a whopping 389 receptions, 5,988 yards, and 52 touchdowns over that span. That's an average of 5 receptions, 72 yards, and just over a half a touchdown per game. Now, if you take those averages and you put him over just the 12 games a year that he plays on average, that would put him right around 83 targets, 60 receptions, 864 yards, and 7 touchdowns. That's a total of 158 half PPR points. That would have been good enough to make him tight end 6 last year. And really, he's only 25 points away from being inside the top 3 with those exact same stats, is there a reason to believe that Gronk can't get somewhere in the vicinity of those numbers? I mean, they're not astronomical by any means. Sure, Arians has never been the type of coach to really feature his tight ends in his offense, but remember, Brady is the one throwing the footballs. It's not Bruce Arians throwing the ball. Yeah, sure, Arians will have a hand in the play calling, along with Byron Leftwich, but Tom Brady, he's most comfortable with Gronk. We've seen that connection for decades, it feels like. And I really don't have a reason to believe that Gronk isn't going to be a version of what we're used to seeing with Gronk. Yeah, sure, it may not be prime Gronk, but it's still Rob Gronkowski. And he's always been among the league leaders at the tight end position in yards after the catch and target share inside the red zone. The red zone is where this guy could eat. Could he have a slight less amount of yards? Possibly. But is it out of the question that this guy could get 10 touchdowns? No, it's really not. So even if that yardage takes a dip, what if he can go out there and get you between 8 and 10 touchdowns? That is a huge, huge difference and definitely a possibility in this offense. I love me some Gronk inside the red zone. I mean, do you really think that Gronk came out of retirement after talking to Tom Brady to go all the way to Tampa Bay just to be a decoy? I don't think so. I mean, Gronk looks to be in great shape, and Visor Brady is out there looking great, and he's going to be looking for his favorite target. Now, he's currently being drafted as tight end 8. He's creeping up a little bit. He's into the 7th round, which is starting to get a little expensive, but that means that he really only needs to eclipse 55 catches for just over 660 yards and 6 touchdowns. I think he can do it. I mean, I really do. If Gronk can play 12 games or more, the dude returns on his draft day investment easily. Plus, we've kind of seen the potential ceiling of Gronk, right? I mean, it's absolutely huge. One thing I will do, though, and I've said this on numerous shows, on some live streams in the past, if you draft Gronk, you need to make sure you have a little bit of an insurance policy on your bench. Now, for a lot of guys, maybe you get one of the big 4, right? Maybe you get a Kelsey, a Kittle, an Ertz, an Andrews even. Then maybe you just roll with one tight end. If you get Gronk, there is some risk involved there, but there's also a huge reward, so I got to make sure I get some insurance. Grabbing somebody like a Mike Gesicki, a Jonnu Smith, a TJ Hawkinson a little bit afterwards is a great way to make sure that you're taken care of at the tight end position just in case things don't pan out for Gronk. But we projected this at 12 games. If this guy plays anything over 12 games, and you know that there's going to be a few games in there where he goes out and gets multiple touchdowns or a big play in a 100-yard game, the numbers could actually really increase, and he could easily turn into a top 5 tight end here once again this year. Don't forget about Gronk on draft day. You don't have to pay a huge price for him, but watch his ADP. We don't want it to get a little bit higher than what it is right now. Where he sits right now is fine with me, and I'll gladly take him because by that point in the draft, I already have my 3 running backs, a couple wide receivers. I'll grab my tight end and my quarterback right here around round 7, 8 or so, and I'm going to be happy. Don't forget about one Rob Gronkowski. I'm looking for him here in 2020, along with the next guy. Another one of these guys that maybe you could pair with Gronk, depending where he falls in the draft. I'm talking about Hayden Hurst of now the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, this is a guy who was super hyped just about a month or so ago, and then here over the past couple weeks, he's starting to slip a little bit here in his ADP. I don't know if people are forgetting about him or they're just not on board or what, but don't forget, this is a one-time baseball prospect who was drafted by the Pirates and then turned into a first-round tight end selection of the Ravens in 2018 before Mark Andrews. I mean, this is a great all-around athlete. Heck, he may even be a better tight end than the tight end that he's taking over for. Last year's breakout tight end, Austin Hooper, who's no longer in Atlanta now. He's gone to Cleveland. But Hayden Hurst could actually be a better Austin Hooper, an offense that we've talked about a lot in the past few months right there in Atlanta. Love the division, love the potential of the offense in this division. You know defenses are going to have to key in on the likes of a Julio Jones, a Calvin Ridley, now Todd Gurley in the backfield. Hurst is just going to eat up the underneath routes and could really help move the chains in Atlanta. Last year, Austin Hooper had 97 targets in this offense, and while not all of those are going to go the way of Hayden Hurst, it's not out of the question for him to see between 75 and 80 targets. Now, Atlanta does have 258 total vacated targets from 2019, a mixture of Devonta Freeman, Mohamed Sanu, Austin Hooper being the bulk of them right there, though. I mean, if Hurst can get anywhere close to 80 targets, that puts him right around 60 receptions for 600 yards and 5 touchdowns or so. That's 120 half PPR points, and nowadays, those are top 10 tight end numbers. But can he really get to those numbers? It's the question that a lot of people are asking. But I mean, we know that Atlanta not only loves to throw, but they're going to have to throw here in 2020. Last year, the Falcons threw the ball more than any other team in the NFL with 684 attempts, over 50 times more than the second place team in the NFL. Heck, had Drew Brees not missed a few games last year, all 4 teams in the NFC South would have finished in the top 5 in the NFL in pass attempts. Now, do we really think that changes this year? Why? Just because of Todd Gurley? I mean, I love Gurley this year, and I love where he's being drafted in fantasy football, but in my opinion, he's just going to keep the defense honest. I don't think it's going to overly hurt Hayden Hurst. We're not out here projecting Hurst to get 100 and some targets because, yes, I do agree that Todd Gurley is going to be slightly involved in the passing game, which is going to take away some of the potential targets going to the tight end position, but not enough for Hayden Hurst to just not be a factor. I mean, they have a great schedule down the stretch with possible shootouts galore, and right now the ADP of 9th to 10th round is great for Hayden Hurst. Sure, there's some other popular tight ends being drafted just after him, the likes of a Noah Fant, Mike Gesicki, TJ Hawkinson, but how are their projections any more safe than what we're talking about here for Hayden Hurst? Yeah, they all have upside, but they all have risk. If none of these guys had any risk, they would be drafted a lot earlier. There's a reason these guys are getting close to the double-digit rounds. It's because they have that risk. And I really still believe that the role for Hayden Hurst is just a little bit more defined. I mean, they traded a 2nd-round pick and a 5th-round pick for this guy, and that really tells me that he's going to be involved going forward. By not signing Austin Hooper and trading for Hayden Hurst, it just shows that they want a playmaker at that tight end position. It really helps in all facets of the offense. I mean, had they not really worried about the tight end position, they would have just rolled with one of their young guys that they have on their roster already. But like I've said numerous times, there's a reason these guys are being drafted a little bit late, right? There's some risk, there's some question marks there. That's okay. Grab 2 of them late. We talked about a few names when we talked about Gronk with, Gesicki, Hawkinson, Jonnu Smith. I've mentioned Eric Ebron on this channel before. We already know about Jack and Doyle. He's a potential late round option. There's other options out there. If you wait on tight end, which I will 9 times out of 10 here this year, I'm probably not going to draft a Kelsey, Kittle, Ertz, and Andrews, anything in the first 4 rounds. Probably not going to happen for a lot of my fantasy football teams, and I'm going to grab 2 of these guys late because one of them is going to hit. One of them is going to be a top 10 tight end, and I got them at a super cheap price. But we want to keep this interactive, so tell me down below in the comment section which late round tight end do you hope to land here in 2020? I'm curious to see what a lot of you guys see out there right here before your fantasy football drafts, because they're right around the corner, right? The season is rapidly approaching. We're looking forward to it. Hopefully you are also. We appreciate all the support here on the channel. The channel continues to grow, and don't forget, hit the like button. I'm giving away a couple draft guides if we can get to 1,000 likes here on this video. Plus, it's still for sale up on our website, thefantasyheadliners.com. Almost 600 virtual pages of all things fantasy football to help you dominate here in 2020. Go get yours before it's too late. A lot of people are loving it. If you kind of want some reviews on it, scroll through some of our videos. People are leaving comments on every video with how much they love the draft guide. But we greatly appreciate the support. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your week. We'll talk to you later.